Hi, everybody. Welcome to our channel for a live stream, Scientology Peeling the Onion. My name is Mark Fisher, and I'm here with my co-host, Janis Gillham Grady. How you doing today, Janis?
I'm good, Mark. Good day, everybody, and welcome to Scientology Peeling the Onion.
And we are getting used to the name change.
and layers and layers are still coming off for us and many of our subscribers and followers.
That's right. That's right. Anyway, we just wanted to mention, go ahead and get in the chat. We're going to be putting up comments as we go along. You can ask us questions. Just write the word questions, please, and we'll start and put it in there and ask. You can super chat, super sticker, whatever you'd like to do. We're going to talk about L. Ron Hubbard, and his birthday was yesterday. And it's apropos, Janis, that we're doing the show just after 2 o'clock on Thursday after his birthday, right?
That's right. So everybody with up stats, you can come and watch our show. If your stats are down, you can still come and watch our show.
Okay, great.
We're not picky.
So anyway, we're going to show, we have some photographs from LRH's birthday in the past, and also we're going to tell some stories. We're going to talk about, the birthday game and what it means to the Scientology organizations. And then we're going to reflect later on about, what is our opinion of L. Ron Hubbard now after all these years. We've been through fair game. We've been through abuse. We were connected with Scientology for a long time, and then we left, and then they came after us. And so we're going to give you our opinions about what L. Ron Hubbard means to us now. And so that'll come up later in the video. And then also, Janis, we're going to do a giveaway later in the video, and it's a special giveaway. Go ahead and show them, Janis.
This is an original T-shirt from the Free Winds Maiden Voyage. Is it showing up here?
Yeah.
There we go. Anyway, it's a size large, extra large. It's huge on me. I don't think I've ever worn it. But anyway,
this is a one of a kind. This is a one of a kind item. This is a one of a kind item. Okay. In other words, you can't go buy a Maiden Voyage Free Wind shirt right now, right, Janis?
Exactly. I have two of these, and these are from the original Maiden Voyage in June 1988. Not all the pretend maiden voyages, which are not maiden voyages. There's only one maiden voyage. So these are from there.
Yeah, so stick around. We're going to do a giveaway later on in the chat. So stick around for that, and hopefully you'll be the lucky winner of it. And it's free. We're going to send it to you. You don't have to pay for it or anything like that. And we'll just go from that. I see Love Food Kitchen is in the house. I see Betsy Sue is in the house. Here's what Betsy Sue says. She says, I hope I win. I hope you all win.
Only one can win. Only one can win this T-shirt.
And then YouTube watchers, thank you, Mark, Janis and Mark, for all the work you do. Thanks very much for watching. We appreciate it. And whatever. Happy Thursday to all. Greetings from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. That's Betsy Sue. Janis, your man. Best greetings, and let us have a nice show. Well, we're going to do that. And Colonel Brock is in the house. We haven't seen Colonel Brock for a while, so welcome, Colonel. We're glad that you're back here. And Love Food Kitchen has a comment. Ron's stats couldn't be lower. He's still not reported back to the Sea Org to man his post as the Commodore. That's right.
That's right. He's being bypassed by David Miscavige.
Yeah, he died in 1986. Hubbard would have been 113 years old yesterday. That's how long ago it was that he was born. It's hard to believe because, I mean, when he died, he was, in his early 70s or whatever. Anyway, it's been a long time. And he's way overdue for reporting back for duty. So you're correct about that, Love Food Kitchen.
Yep.
And we got Winston Shaw. He's watching from Malta. Hey.
Oh,
welcome.
Cool.
That's amazing. Thank you very much.
Always wanted to go there. One of these days I'll make it there.
And we've got somebody from New Zealand, Clive Wright. Hey, good morning from New Zealand. Wow, that's amazing.
That's on my list for next year.
I would love to go to New Zealand. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
And then Colonel Brock says, Janis, are your weekly stats ready?
Yes, they are. And I'm going to be upstat already because I'm going to have this interview in the bag. So Actually, we did some good interviews last week. We did more than
Yeah.
usual. We're backed up on getting them out.
Yeah, we've got like 3 interviews already fully recorded that we haven't put out from 2 new people that you haven't heard from before. And then also, then yesterday, we did an interview. Well, we did an interview with Phil Jones, who's the man behind the billboards in California and Clearwater that just went up near the the Scientology complex. And we did an interview with him last July as in one of our live streams, and it was in a bigger video where we were talking about Miscavige wasn't anointed by Hubbard. Anyway, so I edited out his interview and then I just did a little intro for it, and I put that out yesterday. It's about 45 minutes long, and it's been very well received. People have been watching it because Phil's the man. He and his wife Willie have been trying to get back in touch with their son and daughter who are still in the Sea Org for many years, and it basically, we went over the fact that disconnection is just a terrible thing in Scientology. It's one of the abuses of Hubbard, and we just wanted to focus, let people know about Phil's story because he's in the news right now because of the billboard and Scientology putting up a stupid scissors lift, right?
Yeah, and he's got both his kids still in the Sea Org, not communicating with him.
That's right.
So,
yeah, Phil is my hero too, and he deserves all the support that he can get. And Mary Ken Lennon said that was a great interview. Thank you very much. And Betsy Sue, that was a great interview. I watched it again last night. Thank you. We really appreciate it. And anyway, so without further ado, like I said, stick around. We've got some new viewers that are in here right now. We're doing a giveaway of a one-of-a-kind item, or well, not one-of-a-kind, but a hard-to-get item, which is a T-shirt from the original Free Winds maiden voyage back in 1980. What year? 1988. And it's blue, and we're going to give that away later on, so stick around for that. Okay? Without further ado, let's get started. Janis, you ready?
Okay. Yep, I'm ready.
So we're going to talk about L. Ron Hubbard and his birthday, March 13th, and why. What does it mean these days, And so we'll start. We've got a photograph here, Janis, and go ahead and you can start telling stories about Hubbard and his birthdays.
This birthday here, I figure this must have been 1974, somewhere around there. But if you look at this picture, beautiful cake, and you can see behind the cake is Mary Sue Hubbard, L. Ron Hubbard's wife, and you can even see part of her green dress there. So, she was there and she was in this picture. But if we go to the next picture, which the Church of Scientology uses. Oh, that's not the one. But I got the wrong photo because but the other. Okay, no. I was going to show the one where they actually had photoshopped her out.
Well, you can see Mary Sue right there, and there she's not there. So they obviously photoshopped her out.
Right, they did. They photoshopped her out, and I messed up because I wanted to show you the one where she was photoshopped out. Oh well, I'll pull that up another time, and I have shown it before.
Janis, before I go on, Winston Smith, thank you so much. He gifted 10 Scientology Peeling the Onion memberships to people that are in our chat right now. So there's 10 of you that are going to become members of our channel, and we really appreciate that, Winston. That's very generous of you. And you guys have gotten gift memberships, and they'll last for 30 days. And then if you want to carry on, you can. So anyway, thank you so much, Winston.
Oh, that's very nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so on the ship, Hubbard's birthdays, we'd have a birthday party for him in the officers' dining room, which was on Deck B, and it was on the original ship. It was the first-class passenger dining room. Anyway, we would set up all the tables would be pulled aside or moved out, and the chairs put around the edge, and the table was always set up for the Commodore and Mary Sue or his family. And he would come down and, just kind of talk to people, and everyone would sing him happy birthday with a cake, and then everyone would just dance and have a party. So that's what the regular birthdays were. Then there weren't, I don't remember a lot of gifts in the earlier days. You can show another picture of him at a table. I believe the next one is
this one here, or the one with Annie, or this one?
This one's fine.
Yeah.
This would have been 1969. There's Bill Howie in the back, and Mary Sue, little Arthur Hubbard, and my sister. And decorations put around as part of the set it up, make it a birthday party. So he would come down and crew would go up and talk to him, no big deal. And then the next one, sorry about the coughing. This is one where there's Annie Broker in the back, Annie Rush, Annie Tidman. And next to Hubbard is Tony Dunleavy, who was the staff captain at the time. So he was the top management person over Scientology, directly under Hubbard's direction. And again, this was in the officers' dining room. And then the next picture, Mark, please. And this is back to that 1974 birthday party. There's Mary Sue in that same dress, and Hubbard, and obviously someone that probably sang happy birthday or did a skit or something like that. And if we go on to the next picture, there's Mary Sue. You can see the dress now, and there's Diana. And so the birthday parties were a very social event, and, you know, people acknowledged him. And he was also given, not a lot of the crew didn't have money to, you know, everyone go off and get him individual gifts. So people would put money together, and payroll used to collect it. And they used to do that on the ship, but they'd only take maybe $1 or something like that. And some people could say, sorry, I can't afford it. And then it got to a point where all the organizations were sending Hubbard gifts, outrageous gifts. He got a motorbike one year. I think the next picture is him on the motorbike. That's him on a motorbike, but it's not the one, but it's a motorbike. And so he gets a motorbike, and Mary Sue also got him a motorbike the same year. It happened just to be smaller and more of what he could deal with, because the motorbike he got given as a gift, it was like a 600cc or something, and that's what he had his motorbike accident on in 1973. Anyway, so the FOLOs, the flag relay offices in the different continents, would all gather up money. And though the crew were maybe getting $10 or $17 a week and had to pay for diapers or baby food, and, you know, if they had kids, and, you know, even just toiletries, but the payroll would insist on taking the money, and the public relations, or the LRH comms, would then figure out the gift. Well, as I said, one year he got the motorbike. Another year he got a dune buggy. And this would have been March 1976. He got the dune buggy, because I remember it arriving, and he had just taken off to Washington, D.C. So he never got to drive it or anything like that. And then one year they didn't know what to get him, so he was given money. And I'm trying to remember how much money it was. Maybe it was 60,000. No, it couldn't have been 60,000, but it was a lot of money. It was in the thousands. And for tax purposes, Mary Sue said, you can't take that money. So he set up what was called the Birthday Contribution Fund. And this was for Sea Org members, but I don't even know if Sea Org members that weren't on the ship even knew about it. But those crew on the ship knew about it. And if they needed to travel to the US, or they wanted to go on leave of absence, they could borrow from the Birthday Contribution Fund, and then money is taken out of their paycheck every week to pay it back. So I know the musicians all used that when they all went on leave in 74 as we were crossing over from Madeira to the Caribbean. So these are just some ideas of things that he got for his birthday. A lot of expensive stuff that people couldn't afford. And wealthy Scientologists did also send him gifts. And most gifts, when you're living on a ship, you got nowhere to put them on display, no shelves or anything like that. So most gifts actually went into storage and sat there. So, Mark, any questions from that?
Well, I was just going to ask, a couple of things. Number one, what do you get a man like that, who basically can buy anything? I mean, I've heard this with other people, like, what do you give a millionaire? What do you give a billionaire and all that? But the organizations would send gifts to Hubbard and all that. And then eventually, we'll get to it, but the gifts became, he didn't want gifts. He wanted expansion of Scientology in the organizations, and he wanted the statistics up. And so the birthday game was created, and we'll get to that in a minute. I wanted to go ahead and show you. Here's another picture that we've got here, Janis, right, from another birthday?
Yes. Yeah, from another birthday. This one, I think this must have also, I don't know, but Sandy Wilhair is there on the right. And this must have been 75 because she was pregnant then. So this must have been his birthday in 75. So that's Sandy there, Sandy Wilhair, Sandy Stevens, LRH. And then in the back, the black lady with the afro, that's Alethea Taylor. She was his secretary, and she did a lot of the transcribing of his lectures. And then in the white-looking shirt, it's actually light blue with the lanyard across the chest. That's my sister-in-law, Doreen, who was the messenger on duty that night. And next to her is Mary Sue, and then to the far left is Diana Hubbard, his daughter.
And then on to the right is the next picture.
And you can see, that's just a homemade birthday cake from the galley.
It looks like several pans of cake that were put together and then iced, because they're different, sort of, up and down and all around.
Yeah. So, and it depended on who was in the galley as to how the birthday cakes would look. Because you compare that one to the earlier one, which was 3 levels. Someone must have gotten that from town, where this one was just made in the galley.
Well, look at how they almost didn't get Commodore on that. Like the E is falling off the edge of the cake.
What a mess. Exactly.
Oh, that's funny. He must have kept a straight face, right?
He did. And he
never,
he
he's right there. He's looking
said,
at the cake. Yeah.
He always just said thank you. He never, he would not criticize that cake. It's the thought that counts, I guess.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you a question. Okay, so when he came down for his birthday on the ship, like you said, was it like the whole crew there and a party already going, and he would just make an appearance, kind of like the King of England or whatever, and then leave, or would he stay and actually enjoy the party with the crew?
He usually would stay and enjoy the party, and people would come over. If people got their courage up, they would come over. Many didn't come over, but those who were used to being around him didn't have a problem, or those who'd never met him before and they had the guts to go over and introduce themselves. But he would come down and he would stay for a bit. He'd have a drink, his soda, and Tab. He used to drink Tab, and so he would have his Tab, and he'd stay there for cake, and he'd blow out his candles, and the music would be going, and the crew would be dancing, and he'd be sitting there chatting or watching.
I get it. Now, why were people? I mean, obviously, it must have been intimidating seeing Hubbard because it's in a social setting. But was he ever rude to people that came up to him to say hello, or was it tough?
No.
Misha's saying hello. Anyway,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I never saw him being rude to people coming up to say hello. Even when he was out on deck, we would see someone approaching him, And we would know everybody on board because the quartermaster would tell us every new person that came aboard, and we would go down and welcome them aboard on his behalf. And so we knew everybody that came. And so walking on deck, we would tell him, oh, that's Mark Fisher. And so then he would go, oh, hi, Mark. And the person's like, oh, my God, he knows my name. You know?
That's what that happens to politicians all the time.
Exactly. But it was all because the messengers knew who the person was, and we would tell him.
How about Mary Sue? Did you guys celebrate Mary Sue Hubbard's birthday as well?
Not like his.
Not like his?
No, she was more quiet, and she usually did hers with the family, not like that.
Okay.
One year, Diana's 18th birthday was a big celebration, but otherwise it was all pretty quiet.
Okay. And then, like I mentioned before, after a while, the LRH, L. Ron Hubbard birthday game started. Janice, do you remember around what time that or when that was, or what? I know the 5.4X that was later. That was for the St. Hill size orgs, but there were other birthday games before that, weren't there?
There were some, and it was to 5.4X or whatever. He'd sit down and do a calculation. I never knew how he did the calculation, but I'd see him sitting there calculating it out, and then he'd go, okay, this is what the target is. And that's what he would say he would want instead of gifts, because, well, he had nowhere to put the gifts if he got them. And I know John Horwich, his son-in-law, one year did arrange for him to get some, what was that stereo system? It started
Nakamichi.
Nakamichi, yeah. Horwich arranged to get him Nakamichi player and speakers and stuff like that, which was all gotten using birthday gift money from the crew's pay. No, that should have been paid for by the organization,
Yeah, and then in the early 80s, that's when he came up with the birthday game for the organizations, where what he wanted for his birthday was 5.4 times the statistics across the board with every organization in the world. And the reason was because that was the size of old St. Hill in the 60s when he was the executive director. And so his birthday wish that he wanted was to get orgs up to the size of old St. Hill. And in reward for doing so, they would get what was called the Universe Corps. And the Universe Corps was basically the organization would send auditors, people to process the staff, and they'd be sent for training at Flag, where they would be trained up and then come back, and they would be basically staff auditors. And it was a way for staff to get up the bridge, to get up, through the lower grades of Scientology, up through clear, and then eventually the OT levels. And that was the reward if you achieved St. Hill size. They also gave away big trophies, because they set up the game whereby, each individual organization would compete against each other, but then also Scientology was managed by continent. So you would have Europe and Australia and East US and West US and LATAM, which was Latin America, and the UK. And anyway, and so, each continent would also compete against each other. And then they did the same thing with the missions. And the whole idea was to get the organizations to expand. And that would be all their statistics. It would be, students on course, and it would be people getting auditing, and it would be new people coming into Scientology, gross income, book sales, you name it. And that was a game. And they still play that game today, as far as I know. They were, at least when we left in 1990.
I heard they do still play it. And they use the birthday game to get everybody behind it. And usually what would happen is, you get the winner of the continent for the March 13 event. Oh, well, there weren't actual events. We did not have, we had a birthday party on the ship, and that was it. The continents and everything, they just played the birthday game, or they sent their gift or whatever, but they didn't have birthday parties for him. But when Miscavige took over, that's when he again did his usual violation of policy and hold a big event and started making a big thing of it. And giving out his false statistics on what they've achieved, and whipping people to find more good news so that he could announce it at his events.
Right, because that all happened after Hubbard died. I mean, he never did
Right.
an event like that, Hubbard. This is all
No.
Miscavige's creation after that, doing the television events and doing the big trophies. I mean, they gave trophies, out, but there wasn't like a big public spectacle or anything like that.
And
And
it wasn't extravagant. It was not
no,
extravagant. That
no, and I
birthday
think
cake shows how extravagant it was.
And then I think, Janice, when we were still in all the way up till 1990 when we left, I think there had only been one organization that got to the size of Old Haines Hill, and that was the Los Angeles Day organization, right? I mean, was there any others? I mean, there was hardly any at all, right?
Yeah, I think it was with Jens and Ginny Bugvad it made it. And then
Yeah.
later on, it was found to be false stats anyway. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that was pretty typical. There were a lot of false stats because playing the birthday game created stat pushers. And because people wanted to win, and so they'd false report stats, and then it would all blow up later because it was found out that the org wasn't as big as they said, and they didn't have income in order to pay their rent and that type of thing.
Yeah. Another story about when I was in charge of approving all of the management evaluations on organizations in 1982. I was trained up to do that, and I was given the authority to be able to approve them. Before that, the approval line had to go all the way up to Watchdog Committee, and Hubbard didn't think anybody was any good at it, but eventually Watchdog Committee considered that I was good enough at it that I was brought for training, and then I actually was the person who could approve them without any other authority. So we made a game in 1982 for L. Ron Hubbard's birthday. We wanted to get every organization in the world with a current evaluation that management could use to manage that organization. And there was 100 and something orgs. I don't even remember how many there were, but we worked on it for like 3 months straight. And basically we worked almost around the clock to get these evaluations done. And we got them all done for the first time. And they were sent up. Some of them were sent up to Hubbard along with, we had a big plaque. Then we took a photograph of all the evaluators saying, we have every organization with a current evaluation. And then a dispatch came down. I'm assuming he saw it at some point, but a dispatch came down saying that, he was very pleased with that gift, and that, he looked at some of the evaluations and he thought they were very good. So that was something that we did as well. Anyway.
Right.
And then, of course, Hubbard died at some point. So we did a video recently. If you want to watch it, there'll be a link down below, and actually after this video, where we talk about when he died in 1986 and the L. Ron Hubbard death event. So if you haven't seen that, just wait till the end of this video, and that'll be the next video up if you'd like to watch that. And we go over and talk about that as well. Now, Janice, I wanted to ask you.
You did. Hang on. You did that. You did that because I was off vacationing. Because I like to be upset on vacations.
That's right. But anyway, if you want to watch that, it's another good video, because we're talking about his birthday. Now we're talking about when he died and stuff. So anyway,
yeah.
So if you want to watch that video, that would be great. Anyway, so Janice, one of the things we wanted to discuss is, what does Hubbard mean to us now? I mean, obviously after all these years, Miscavige. Sorry about that.
Can't hear you. Okay, so we want to just kind of talk about where we are mentally on the subject of Hubbard and having been in Scientology and that type of thing. So let me just start off with that. I grew up with him as a fatherly figure. My father was in the U.S., and I was on the ship. My mother was in the U.S., and during the 8 years I was on the ship, she came and visited probably 3 times is what I could think of. So, and then I managed to get 2 leave of absence after being on the ship for 5 years and not seeing either of my parents. I was out to get a leave of absence. Well, actually, my mother came, and that's when she said, I'll get your dad to pay for you to come and visit. So my sister and I went and visited. So 5 years, and then seeing her, and then going to see her. So as a fatherly figure, I took his advice. It's just like you would from any father or so forth. And there was times, I'd hear him say things, and I'd sit there with things, push thoughts into the back of my head. But I would sit there and hear people treating him like a god and thinking everything he says is so wonderful. And I would have seen different things, and I'd have my own doubts, and that's what I put to the back of my head. And then I'd think there's something wrong with me because all these people are just gushing about how wonderful he is. And anyway, as time has gone by, even when I was in the Sea Org and he was in hiding, I used to think that if I could only get a message to him or see him, I could correct things, because that's how I operated on the ship. If someone had a problem, they wrote daily reports, and as a messenger, I would highlight that and send it in, or I would bring things up to Hubbard just so that people could get his help. But there was times where he could be really nice and generous and helping, and there was times he was very hard-nosed and coming down and taking away bonuses, taking away, people losing sleep. But then, on the other hand, he'd yell at us for waking somebody up. And so there was a lot of
contradictions
going, as to how he operated. We're not allowed to wake someone up, but in certain times we get in trouble for not waking them up, or we get in trouble for waking them up. So I got it to the point where I just go back and say they're asleep and let him decide if I have to wake them up or not. I'm sorry. Anyway, so as time went by, and pretty much after he passed away, and I realized there is no way I have of being able to resolve things anymore unless I step up to the plate and make people fearful of, me, or me supporting people so that they had someone to protect the staff. And then you go, wait a minute, he set it up this way. And because there's some policies that contradict each other. But then sometimes I would try and justify what he's saying in a policy. Let's take the subject of disconnect. I grew up having to disconnect from my mother when I was 9. I had to disconnect from my father when I was 11. And then when my brother left the Sea Org later on, I had to disconnect from him, and then I was disconnected from. So I've gone through it from every flow. And I would always justify the policy to mean disconnect, or handle, or disconnect. So if it's a matter of life and death and the person's going to harm you, then you disconnect. You don't. People do that in the real world anyway. You move away from endangerment, and to me, that's where you would disconnect. Otherwise, you would handle. But they've made it a point where they don't handle. Instead, they make the problem worse by not communicating, and instead disconnecting and thinking, well, my parents are going to stop trying to communicate with me if I disconnect. Well, no, the parents are just trying to make sure you're okay. And there's a difference there of, are you a potential trouble source because your parents are having you kidnapped, or they're just trying to find out how you're doing, and they just want a letter back saying, hey, Mom, I'm doing great. I'm living in sunny Florida. I get Liberty every week or every 2 weeks. That's all they want to hear. So the way I always looked at it was you handle, and that's with fair roads, good weather. And disconnect is only if there's a physical endangerment, or like the threat of kidnapping or whatever. So I see that and I always felt that if I saw Hubbard, I could point that out to him, that people are misusing his policy on the disconnection. But that's something he should have recognized himself, just like with the List 1 RSs, when people were being assigned to the RPF, and he didn't become aware of that himself until it was pointed out, something's wrong here. You say in policy it's only 2% that are suppressive persons. How come we have all these people that are potential endangerment because they're rock slamming on Scientology's List 1? So that's where I look at things where it just doesn't add up, and he's not as he's not as aware of things that people would expect him to be as an OT.
Yeah. Well, I was going to go. Yeah, no, that's fine. And then I wanted to mention too, you know, we keep coming, you know, just doing these interviews with people. You know, we've been out 34 years. We left in 1990. Okay, 34 years we've been gone from Scientology, right? And we've had a lot of things happen to us since then by Scientology, through fair gaming, dirty tricks, you name it, right? But we're still peeling the onion. You know, a good example, Janis and I were talking with John McClane, whereby, you know, Janis at 16 years old, Hubbard hightails it out of Morocco because of the coup that was going on in the government and Scientology's involvement with it. And he leaves a 16-year-old and some other people there at the place where he was living in Morocco while he hightails it out of it for them to clean things up. And, you know, she could have been arrested. I mean, they could have gone and gotten her and taken out. I mean, it's not something you think about when you're a 16-year-old, but right. That's what Hubbard did. And then another thing that he mentioned too, and then Janis mentioned a story about transporting cash overseas from the United States to Europe and having tens of thousands of dollars in cash in your luggage and couriering that, you know, and she was a teenager, and you go like,
but Mark,
like international trafficking. That's just ridiculous. And you don't think about that at the time, because Janis wanted an affluence mission and she was going to get some money as a teenager, right? But when you think about it, years later, you go, that was completely criminal, and you were endangered. You know what I mean? So we're still peeling the onion, just like everybody else, we hope, that has been involved in Scientology and is watching this stuff.
Exactly. I wanted that $150 bonus.
So, you know, it's just crazy. For me, my opinion about Hubbard is very mixed. Okay. He's a liar. Okay. He's a charlatan, and to many people, you know, at the time I got involved in Scientology because it helped me. I actually didn't know who Hubbard was. My father got me in, and I got Scientology processing, and it changed me as a person for the better. Okay. And there's a reason why all these people are in Scientology to this day, or you know, are wealthy people are involved, because it handles something for them. Whatever it is, whatever you believe, whatever you think, if it's Hubbard or not, it's something that they get a gain, you know, some kind of gain out of it, and so they stick with it, and then they follow the rules. I'm not going to read the internet. I'm not going to look at any in theta or anything like that, right? Because they become brainwashed and that type of thing, right? But you know, those gains, so I've learned over the years, you know what I mean? I don't know where Hubbard got them from. A lot of them apparently he got from other subjects, other philosophies and things like that. Fine, I don't have a problem with that. He also lied about his history and his life history and all that sort of stuff. Okay, great, he's a liar and all that. But what the problem for me is that doesn't make my gains and my wins any less important to me. You know what I mean? So I don't know that that's Hubbard, but I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater in regards to that. Now, abuses, are you kidding me? Okay, I lost my family. I lost my wife. You know, I had to disconnect from my family. I had my family disconnect from me and my father and my mother. I had dirty tricks played on me by Osa and Miscavige. I got beaten up by Miscavige. Absolutely. This is all horrible. And this is all Hubbard as well, based on his policies, because they follow these things to a T. So, I think Hubbard is a horrible person overall. That's my opinion, right? So but I don't look back on things, Janice, and I think you'll agree with me on this. I'm not a victim. Okay. I've never been a victim. I left 34 years ago and I just keep on keeping on. I've had so many things happen to me that have tried to, knock me down and put me out. And I just let it slide off my back and I just keep going because you know something, I'm not going to let them get to me. I'm not going to let them do that. So, that to me, wherever that toughness comes from or wherever that make it go rightness comes from, that's how my life is. And I just keep on keeping on.
That's what I was about to say. I like to make things go right. And that's why I always felt when Hubbard was alive that if I could only get to him and get him the truth, because I knew false reports were being set up, which was creating all these wrong handlings coming down and being forceful and so forth. But, he died before I could do that. And then it just continued and got worse and worse and worse. But it all starts with his basic policies. And maybe I just didn't duplicate them in the first place, but I never, when I would read them when I was in there, I never thought of them as evil or something. I somehow justified them in my own head because everything was supposed to be good. We were supposed to be helping people. So I'd always look at the positiveness of things and not at the negativity.
Yeah, and you're right, Janice, because that's why I joined staff. I mean, we thought we were doing good things. We thought we were helping people because we would see people have gains and have wins, right? But guess what? Once we started really seeing the abuse, when Miscavige took over, I mean, it amped up. I mean, Hubbard was bad. Miscavige is 100 times worse. And as soon as we saw that, we went, we're out of here. We're not going to put up with him abusing staff the way that he was doing it. You know what I mean? All the other abuses of children and things like that. We didn't have children. Unfortunately, we had nothing to do with that. We didn't see that. But now we're hearing these stories years later, and it's absolutely, positively disaster. It's terrible what was done, and we've been doing this channel now almost a year. Next month will be a year. And I'm still surprised by some of the stories that we're hearing from people that happened years ago that we had no idea that it went on, So
Right.
my view of Hubbard is, yeah, he's a bad guy. He was a liar. He's a con man to many people. And, he built this whatever you want to call it, cult, religion, Scientology church, whatever they call it. He built it, and there's some reason why people are sticking around in it. And the truth, we're putting the truth out there because we want to help people end the abuse. We want to get them out and help them end the abuse. And that's why we do this. Anyway, that's my little piece.
Yeah. Well, another example of the contrary facts is like Hubbard says, the child care needs to be handled. So he's like, well, let's get a ranch in Mexico to separate the children from the parents because the parents are just dumping their kids on the Sea Org anyway. Well, they're dumping them because they're not allowed to go see them, and the kids have been shipped off to a further away location. They can't easily get to them. So again, he's asking for a solution, and then the solution that he even presents doesn't handle anything. It just makes it worse. And, and the kids involved, even myself, I was separated from my parents, and he knew it because he would even have discussions with me about my mother or Celebrity Center. He knew I was on the ship for 8 years while she was in Los Angeles.
Right. And then we also been talking to other people who were involved. Yeah, he knew he basically did not want you going back there. There was a lot of jealousy going on between your mother and your family and Hubbard and his wife and all that, and it just was a mess, But anyway, right. we look back on it. Janice and I both, I think, agree. I mean, look, I don't regret yesterday. I hate to use that cliche, but I just really don't. I've had opportunities through my connections in Scientology to do some amazing things, to meet some amazing people. I have friends for life almost like people who were in the military sometimes have friends for life, because I have people that, you know, we've been through the thick and thin of things, and I know I can count on them. So those have all been positive experiences for me personally. And my brother, he got out of Scientology when he was 16. You know, I've had lots of things happen to me, but he just is, he's amazed, because whenever something happens, I just keep on keeping on. And he goes, God, you always end up on your feet. And I said, that's because I don't worry about things that happened in the past. I just keep on confronting what's ahead of me and keep going. I'm not a victim. I don't need somebody to hold my hand and to help me. I do it myself, you know, and that's just been the way I've been living my life since I left Scientology.
You know, that reminds me of the time when we had our mortgage company and Paul's parents came to visit us here in Las Vegas. And the dad sat there looking around and watching. And he says afterwards, he says, would you have been able to accomplish this if you hadn't been in that joint? And Paul's like, no, because he learned so much from being in there, you know, that
not mortgage related. We learned so much, not mortgage related. Yeah, just how to do things, you know, how to get things done.
But but we started a mortgage company from zip and built it up. Yeah. And if we hadn't been in there, I don't think we would have been that capable.
Exactly. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and answer your questions and everything now. We've got several starred. Before we do that, though, Janice, why don't you hold up we're going to do a giveaway to everybody in the chat. If you just joined us lately, this is almost a one-of-a-kind item. This is a T-shirt from the Freewind's original maiden voyage in 1988 that Janice has. It's never been worn. It's extra large size, but it's really a collector's item. So if you're interested, we're going to be giving this away right now. Okay, so get into the chat, and all you have to do is just say "shirt me" or "me" or whatever, and then we're going to do a countdown, and we're going to randomly select somebody. And then if you get selected, we'll have you email Janice your name and address, an email address, and then we'll ship it off to you. It's free. This is something that we're giving away as a gift to our viewers here. So go ahead and get in the chat. Yeah,
I have two of these, but we're only giving one away this time. Maybe another one, I will give another one away.
Okay. Anyway, while you guys are getting in the chat and everything, I want to ask you a personal favor. Okay, if you've been watching our videos and you've watched what we do and all that sort of thing, I started a second channel and I need your help. Okay, the channel's called Las Vegas Travel and More. I'd ask you, please subscribe to my channel. I've got just over 600 subscribers and I need to get to 1,000 subscribers. So if you have not subscribed to my channel, please hit that subscribe button over there. That's the address. It really helps me. I don't care really if you want to watch the videos. They're great. I do all sorts of shows on Las Vegas, different places to eat, shows, things happening in Vegas. Also travel. I interviewed Janice about her cruises and different places that I've been and she's been and all that. And it's just kind of a fun diversion for me. But I'd really appreciate it if you do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. Just go to that @MFisherLV. It's my YouTube channel. It's called Las Vegas Travel and More, or just search for that and subscribe to it. I think you'll enjoy it, and I would really appreciate it. So thank you very much for that.
I'm one of the 600. I have subscribed.
That's great. Okay, good. So anyway, go ahead and get in the channel here. This is Love Las Vegas. Thank you very much. And I love LV. Thank you. Anyway, go ahead and get into the chat, everybody. Shirt me, please. Me, whatever you want to do. Let's get that chat rolling here. Okay. And then I will do, Janice, I'll have you do a countdown from 5. And then I'll just randomly click on a comment for somebody to win. And like I said, we'll give away the shirt. It's a Freewind's maiden voyage shirt. So please get in the chat. And whenever you're ready, Janice, we can do the countdown. You can get in there as many times as you want, by the way.
From 1988, so it might even be older than some of our viewers.
That's funny. Okay, the chat's filling up now, Janice. So you go ahead.
Okay. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hit it.
Mary Kay
Kay.
London, me please. Congratulations, Mary Kay. You randomly were just picked, and we want to thank you for being a member of our channel. And also, you just won the shirt.
I will box it up with your book.
Hold it up and show it again. There you go.
That's on the chest.
Yep. And then if you would, Mary Kay, email Janice at janicegillhamgrady@gmail.com with your name and address. Of course, we have it because we're sending you a book, so that probably
book too.
Easy. But anyway, Janice will package it up with the book or whatever and send it off to you. And if you would do us a favor, we're not going to broadcast it, but take a photograph with you in the shirt and email it back to Janice, and so we can see you enjoying the free win shirt. It's definitely a one of a kind.
Well,
something that we think you'll enjoy.
If you do want us to show it, let us know, and we will show you on our channel in the shirt. Awesome.
Mary Kay. Thank you so much. Okay, great. Well, I'm going to go to the questions, Janice, if you'll keep starring any that are here. And we'll go for about 15, 20 minutes here and answer any questions. Again, I want to thank Winston Smith, who gifted 10 Scientology Peeling the Onion memberships. And some of you have been already chosen for them. And it just means that, you're a member of our channel. You do get some perks. Just go to our membership link in the chat or on our YouTube page, and it'll tell you what you've got. And it's for 30 days for free. And then if you want to continue after that, you can. I think it's just $2.99 or $3.99. It's not very expensive after that. But anyway, but there's no obligation. So thank you very much for that. Colonel Brock says, question, did Ron ever talk about the 1969 first moon landing?
Yeah, he'd commented on it every now and again. But I wasn't always with him. But when we would go to the bridge and it's smooth sailing and he'd be in a good mood, he'd stand there and people would seep out from the bridge, and just the helmsman's there kind of leaning over trying to listen while Hubbard's on the bridge wing, and with the people gathered around him talking about the moon, talking about the stars, and talking about this battle and with this planet and what they were wearing, some wearing the white jumpsuit like the advanced organization Los Angeles used to wear, or this planet they wore red shirts and jeans and a belt and looked like cowboys. And he would just talk about the different things in the galaxies, and he'd point out Orion's belt and the different formations. So there's your answer.
Great. Fabulous. Thank you very much for that, Colonel Brock. Next, this is a comment from Love Food Kitchen. Misha's trying to distract attention from Janice's coughing. That's from earlier.
Yes. Thank you, Misha.
All right. Next question. YouTube watcher, considering the amount LRH kept in cash and considering you both worked in administration, would it have been possible to pay well in the Sea Org and have better work conditions? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's a false savings. It's a false savings. Literally, that money that's in the savings account, if you're not paying people, you're basically, any business would be, it would be on their books how much they're paying, and they could pay a living wage. That wouldn't have been a problem at all.
Yeah, and what kept happening, like in the organizations, they had like banking officers who would, make sure a certain amount of percentage was taken and sent to reserves. And the Sea Org lived off the reserves. And, but the whole setup, I did a whole project once with LRH on staff pay. He sat down and was talking to me about staff pay and how he wanted to make it, affordable and the staff could make some more money. But he set it on percentages, so it always depended on the income. And he used to push, and this is one thing I will give him. He pushed delivery. He always stressed income follows delivery, and he would heavily push on the delivery. And I'm trying to work out staff pay with him. And sometimes I felt his numbers didn't work, and I would go back and go over numbers with him. And he actually had to teach me because, I grew up in a cult. My schooling was cadet school.
One,
Reading,
two, three.
reading, writing, and arithmetic. Now, arithmetic did not include percentages. So he had to teach me percentages. And that's probably when he clicked, these kids didn't learn everything they should have learned. When I'm like, well, how do I work this out? I didn't know what 25, I knew what 25% was, but you get it even, break that down? No. 0.125 or 0.725, forget it. Decibels. Anyway, so we tried to work out staff pay and improve that. And then I felt I needed to see him because the numbers just didn't work. And then I never saw him again and I got busted off of it. And I guess it just never happened. But it was something that, yes, there's money that could have helped make life easier for all Sea Org members.
Right. Next question, YouTube watcher. Question, was Diana Hubbard nice to Sea Org members, or was she a chip off the old block?
Diana,
a complicated person.
She had very few friends. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Very few friends. Didn't socialize with the crew, except the crew she did socialize with she was a conning officer at 16 years old. And so she had her own watch. So she had her own crew when she would go to the bridge and sail the ship at nighttime or during the day or whenever her watch was. So she did socialize more with those people because they'd all eat together before they'd go on watch. And then they're, on the bridge together. And she had to talk to them and brief them on different things. But I always considered her a bit of a snob. And I saw her every day and I grew up with her. So, and she did not go below decks and hang out in the aft lounge like Suzette did. Her younger sister, Suzette, and Arthur and Quentin would hang out in the aft lounge with the crew, but Diana did not. She hung out with the aides.
Okay, next question again, YouTube watcher. Was there a notion among the shipmates that LRH could read their minds or know what was happening at all moments?
Yeah, sorry to say there are people that felt that. And there's people who, though they think he could read their mind, they would not want to see him. And so they might walk in and see him and then they back off and it's pretty obvious. Or there was a time where it actually happened a couple of times where they were up on the promenade deck where Hubbard was and the aides. And they'd been talking to one of the aides or in the comm center delivering some communications. And then Hubbard would come out on deck and he could stand on deck for 5 minutes or even an hour just chatting away with different people. And this person would hide and just stay in the comm center, afraid to come out and be seen by him. And I don't know what goes through their head that they've got such fear, but that definitely did happen.
Okay, next question here. Betsy Sue question, wasn't there a German public that had lied about stats for years, won lots of awards, then sent to the RPF when caught and she wasn't Sea Org? Is that true? You're talking about like Jens Bogvad?
I don't know.
There was some German. There was somebody, I don't remember who, but yeah, there were some famous executive directors in Europe that were lied about their statistics or whatever. So you're right about that.
And it could have been Jens because he was the executive director at Munich Org for several years.
Yeah. Okay. Next question here. I'm not sure what this is referring to. I know you talked about this earlier. From Betsy Sue, Janice, how old were you during those 5 years when you were talking about LRH's birthdays, I think?
Yeah, no, that was where I said I was on the ship for 5 years before I left to go on my first leave.
Oh, got it.
I came on the ship when I was 11, and then I had just turned, I turned 17, in Madrid on my first leave of absence trying to get a visa to come to the US. So it was from 11 to 17 that I was on the ship without leaving. And my mother was there on and off, well, from 11 to 12. She and my dad were both there on and off. And then after that, my dad was gone. And from there, I only saw my mother maybe 3 times.
Okay. Thank you for that question. We'll go to the next one here. Oh, this is a comment from YouTube watcher. Comment, thank you for sharing, Janis. If you're interested, that contradictory sensation is called cognitive dissonance. You know, when you were talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, YouTube watcher. We appreciate it.
I need help with my words sometimes. I can't, I get on a roll and I can't think.
Here's another comment. This is from Winston Smith. LRH was a master of implementing double thinking. Disconnection is affinity. Affinity is disconnection. Yeah, a lot of double think in Scientology. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Here's another comment. This is from YouTube watcher. Comment, if TRs, which are training routines, were what they are said to be, disconnection is meaningless, as a clear should be able to deal with anyone, even SPs. Absolutely correct.
Exactly.
Absolutely correct. If you can communicate with anybody at any time, you should not be afraid to talk to somebody even somebody who's like talking bad about Scientology. The reason they don't want you to is because they know that the truth is being told to them, and they don't want you to start having doubts about your commitment to the Sea Organization or Scientology. Absolutely.
Well, and that's the same as when you're in the Sea Org. If you want to leave, you might have a major upset about something, or you look at what happened with Scott Campbell. He couldn't go see his grandmother, and you want to leave, but you're not allowed to tell anybody because that's a suppressive act. But that's part of communicating. When you have a problem, you're supposed to communicate to help resolve that problem. And especially if it's your spouse.
Well, and it does work. I mean, you may even come to communicate with the person or thing that you're having a problem with, and you don't come to any resolution, but at least you talked it out. You know what I mean? It's right. It does work. It's not like, well, I'm not even going to get involved in it. I'm just going to, I hate that. I'm sure people who have watched this, when you have a relationship with somebody, all of a sudden they just cut their communication. They don't talk to you anymore. They don't return your calls. They don't return your messages. And it's very like you're going like, what's wrong? What did I do? And they won't tell you. And it's very, I hate that when it happens. Anyway.
Or even if you want to communicate it, it puts you on a withhold, because if you do, you'll get in trouble for communicating.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for that question. And then YouTube watcher has a question for me. Mark, what was the process that most gave you gains? My lower grades auditing, which was the lowest part of the bridge, the Scientology bridge, where you do processing on communication, problems, what they call making yourself right. They call it a service facsimile, and cleaning up confessions, you know what I mean? Things that you may have done when you were young and that type of thing. And I couldn't communicate. I wouldn't have been able to do a show like this when I was a teenager. Of course, most people couldn't either, but I literally was nervous and had, fearful of talking in front of people and groups and all that. And even just talking to girls, females, anything like that. And, those lower grades processing helped me raise my confront. It helped me to be able to communicate with people and not be afraid. And, it handled the things that, for me individually that I needed handling. And it gave me a lot of benefit. So anyway, thanks for that question. Next one, OBG Foster question. Does OSA address international issues?
Yes.
Yeah, they operate throughout the world.
Yeah, they have offices in every org. They have offices in every org, and they have continental offices.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks very much for that. We got a super chat from Betsy Sue. Thank you very much, Betsy. We appreciate the support. Thank you both for continuing to speak out. It's our pleasure. Actually, we don't gain anything other than just, we're having fun doing it, but also we're meeting really interesting people that we're talking to and interviewing on our channel. And then we meet really nice people in the chat, our viewers. We've connected with several of them personally. Janis has met some of them, and I have as well. And it's just been very fun, very rewarding. So anyway, we're glad that you all enjoy watching. So thank you very much. Next question is from YouTube watcher to Janis. Did you think LRH had superpowers?
Not really. As a kid, you grow up and you're like, well, how did he know that? But that's probably any parent. I just didn't have parents around to be able to think of, well, how did my mom know that? Because I had no parents. So he was the main adult that I was around.
Yeah.
But there is a story I will tell that it kind of fits with OT3. Operating Thetan 3 with body Thetans and so forth, and how Scientologists address that. When we were living in La Quinta in California, we had several properties lined up, and there was no lights, and you had to go through an alfalfa field or the pathway to get there. And it got kind of a little scary, and there was one corner that everybody who would go between the properties to go to LRH's house, this one corner, everyone saw the same mental picture of a knife fight with an Indian and some other guy, and one of them gets killed. And every time you go there, it's like, oh my God. And you'd scuttle off, as fast as you can. And we'd all talk about this, the different messengers and the external comm people, and so it wasn't just me and it wasn't just one other person. We all had an agreement that this is what we saw at that corner. So one night, one of the messengers mentioned it to Hubbard, that this is what we all see at this corner. And he sat there and he closed his eyes, and the room was silent while he had his eyes closed. And then he finally opened them and said, okay, they're gone. You won't find it there anymore. And sure enough, those Thetans were gone. They were no longer at that corner. No one ever picked up that mental image picture again. So that could be considered a superpower. But there was every ashtray had to be lifted by hand. There was no ashtray standing up on that chair by itself.
That's right. Okay, thanks very much for that question. Let's see, I'm way up here, sorry. Oh, question from Betsy Sue. How's your mom? Send her my love. I will, Betsy Sue. Yeah, she's doing great. I just saw her yesterday. I see her every other day. My mom's going to be 94 in September, and she's doing great, So anyway, thank you very much for asking. And here's the next from Lara Flynn. Has it been covered why the billboard was taken down? Was this because they only had contractor for a few days? Yeah, I'm seeing in the chat right now that the paranormal billboard in LA has been taken down. Who knows? Scientology puts a lot of pressure on the billboard company and all that. And, the billboard company, they don't have any dog in the fight. So who knows what happened? But we'll have to see what happened. It's just terrible if it has. Anyway, that's what Scientology had. That's what happened before when they tried to do the billboard about a couple of years ago in Clearwater and all that. They went to the billboard company and got them to get them to move it. They could even pay them more money. You know what I mean? There's just no, Scientology do whatever they can in order to stop that. I was thinking, Janis, we in Vegas, I don't know if it's legal in California, but in Vegas, we have these moving billboards that go up and down the Las Vegas Strip, and they're trucks with billboards on both sides. You know what I mean? And I was thinking, if it was legal in California, if somebody raised enough money, they could hire one of those trucks to just drive around the complex and then around Celebrity Center and then on a big loop, you know what I mean, and do the same thing.
Yeah, that's a good idea, but they'll get flat tires for some reason.
Not if they're driving. I mean, just say you just keep moving and driving.
No, you throw out the nails. You throw the nails in front of the truck. Osa will come up with some solution to get them flat tires.
No, in Vegas, these driving billboards, they're all over the place up
Yeah.
and down the strip. It's a big business here. Anyway,
This is apparently they're saying that they cut the power and cut the sign down. Lara is out there right now.
Yeah. Who knows? Well, who did it? I doubt a Scientologist did it. I bet you they got the billboard company to take it down. But we'll see. Who knows? We'll find out. Betsy Sue question: was LRH a patient teacher as he showed you how to do math?
Yes. Yeah, he was. And even when we were on the ship, if he gave a message and there was a word I didn't understand, I'd have to ask him. We were not allowed to run a message over a misunderstood word. And I remember one day, and I would ask him sometimes, well, what does blah, blah mean? And sometimes you see his annoyance because he wanted the message run fast and he'd quickly tell you, and okay, off quick like a bunny would go off. But there was one time where I was like, well, I don't understand this word. And he spent an hour with me clearing that word, with me going through crying because of my frustration. And he just kept his TRs in and was very patient with me the whole time until I fully got it. And then I went and did the message.
Okay. We got just a couple more here and then we'll end off here.
Okay.
OBG Foster, keeping Sea Org people poor kept them in. Absolutely. They had nowhere to go.
Yes.
That's a way of control. Absolutely. Good point. Here's a question.
And let me add to that, Mark. Let me add to that because there were some Sea Org members who inherited money. And when we were on the ship, if people inherited, like John Horwich, he got his own stereo system and people fixed things up and, they lived a better quality of things around them. But in the Sea Org these days, like when Miscavige found out that Ray Midoff inherited, Mark Yeager inherited, Mark Imber inherited, they all were made, apparently. I wasn't there. It was after I'd left. But I was told that they were all made to donate their inheritance to the IAS because it wasn't considered that they should have money. So I want to point that out. Again, that's keeping them poor.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, next question is from FY54321. Question: do either of you still experience current fair game for making a year of videos, or does Scientology mostly leave you alone these days? I haven't had any fair gaming. I mean, unless they're doing something that I don't know about, but I'm pretty aware. I know when it was happening before. But anyway, how about you, Janice? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're pretty much leaving us alone. I don't know of any new friends that are, that I would call paid friends. No. No one showed up trying to, become a friend.
That's right. Thanks for asking about that. And then we got a question from Winston Smith. Question: aren't the TRs and ethics formulas the first steps that start the indoctrination? TRs remove the emotions, and ethics formula starts self-policing. Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess. I mean, when I did the communications courses, which is the first thing I did in Scientology, you do the training routines, but it's really to teach you to communicate and to confront things. And it wasn't to be emotionless. It was like to be able to confront things and be able to deal with them and handle them. And the TRs, the training routines were really to train auditors so that you could be you could process other people. In other words, if somebody said something outrageous to you when you were auditing them or in session, so that you wouldn't overreact or have a problem with that, because the whole basis of Scientology auditing is that the auditor does not evaluate for the person they're processing and does not invalidate anything that they say. It's basically let the person say what they're going to say and don't act like, oh, that's stupid, because that just reinforces whatever shame or whatever is going on with them. So, yeah, I guess you could say that, it's the first step of indoctrination, but ethics formulas came later for me. I mean, that didn't really happen until I was on staff. Anyway, what do you think?
Well, it's interesting watching the old and the new, because Scientology organizations are so into the life of the public that it didn't work like that originally. The public, they did what they wanted. If they wanted to sleep with 10 women in one day, they slept with 10 women in one day, and no one did anything about it unless they were married. and there was a third person, that was affected by it. But otherwise, it was left alone. But now they're just so into it and into the sect checking and getting the dirt on everybody. Yeah, they still got the dirt on people before, but it's not like it is today with the control factor of the public.
Exactly. Okay. Here's a comment, Mrs. Poppins. Phil paid for a year. Phil Jones paid. They paid for a year for this billboard, apparently, but it's been taken down. So who knows what's going on? But I'm sure we'll find out relatively soon. Just stay tuned. I'm sure you'll hear about it. Anyway, thanks very much. And then we've got this question here from Free of Mind. What is LRH's legacy as it relates to race? Okay, obviously he has lots of negative race things in his early writings in the 50s and that type of thing from that time period. But I'm just going to talk from my experience. In Scientology, when I was in Scientology, you weren't considered your race. You were considered a thetan or a spiritual being, and your body was your body. So I never saw anybody, discriminate people because they were, another race than white or Asian or whatever. I mean, you were equally, if you were in trouble, you were equally in trouble for anything. It wasn't because of, you're the body that you were in. Scientology and Hubbard considered you to be a spiritual being and not your body. Your body was a vessel. It was what the thetan or the spirit used to operate in the world. So that was my experience in Scientology. And to this day, I look at people as, I don't care what race they are or anything like that. I just consider them a person. And that was my experience. How about you, Janice?
Yeah, I know that there's comments that Hubbard has made in different lectures about Africans. But when we were on the ship, there weren't a lot of black people, but Amanda Ambrose would come aboard and he'd talk to her and didn't seem to have an issue with her. And this is not race, but he always seemed to be who was the best person for the job. If you look at who all the aides were, they were mostly women.
Yeah.
And the management was mostly women.
In the 60s and 70s.
Yep, it was mostly women because they seemed to do the job.
Yeah. But anyway, who knows what was in his heart, but that was my experience dealing with people in the Sea organization at that time. Anyway, that was a great question. Thank you so much for that. And then we got OBG Foster question. Does OSA track what staff are up to or sec checks on public?
Yes.
Not OSA, but not
yes.
OSA. Not OSA. If you're a staff member or your internal public, they're not following that. That's the ethics officer or the MAA.
Oh.
It's not until you leave and you go external. OSA is external facing. They're dealing with outside things, not inside.
Well, however, when my father
when you leave, then they get involved.
Well, we had left, and my father came and visited us, and a PI, private eye, reported it. And so my dad was pulled in by OSA and sec checked for 2 years.
But that was but again, OSA's looking. I'm not defending OSA, but they're looking external of, you're connecting with somebody who's an enemy of the church, so therefore we're involved now. If it was internal, you were sent to the ethics officer or the MAA. You weren't sent to OSA to
right. But if you had committed a crime and that was found out about it, OSA is supposed to handle it.
Again, external. If you robbed a store, yes. That's external. That could be a PR job. Again, I'm not defending OSA, but that's how that worked on that. And then Linda Golan has a comment here. Good wishes to Alex, apostate Alex, who protested outside the London Org yesterday. It took a lot out of him emotionally. Yeah, they did a protest for March 13th out in front of London Org. I watched some of the video. Alex is a friend of ours. And anyway, yeah, he does good work. He's really taking on Scientology over there in East Grinstead and in London and that type of thing. So anyway, we really support him. I think that's it, Janice. I don't see any other questions here.
Okay.
All right. I want to thank everybody for being here. We appreciate you watching. Please subscribe to our channel, like I've mentioned before. We really appreciate that. rock slam the like button, like Janis likes to say. If you have any other questions or any comments about what we talked about, you go in the comment section. We answer them all the time. And then if you would like to donate to our channel, you can buy us a coffee. There's in the description of the video, there's a link where you can click. You can buy us 10, 15, 1, 2 coffees, you know what I mean? And any money that we get from that, it really just goes back into the channel. So we appreciate any support from people for that. Anyway, and congratulations to Mary Kay London for winning the Free Winds Main Voyage t-shirt. And Janis, what would you like to say?
I have more of those t-shirts, and I will every now and again come out with one for giving away. So you have to keep watching us in order to find out when I'm going to do it, because I'm not going to say.
That's right. And we have, like we said earlier, we have 3 interviews already that we've stockpiled that we haven't had time to get out yet. And then we're actually interviewing somebody else tomorrow. And we've got lots of stuff coming up. So please stay tuned to our channel. I hope that you enjoy what we do. We enjoy doing it. And anyway, we want to say thank you so much. So until next time, thank you for joining us. You all have a great day, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.